We're going to be talking today about the parents of children who stutter. We're going to do this session in two parts today. The first half, we're going to be talking about the parents of young children, early childhood stuttering, ages 2, 3, 4, 5, and maybe 6. And then in the second half, we're going to be talking about parents of school age children. So it's two sessions. When stuttering first starts in young childhood, typically ages 2.5 to 4. Okay, so often we'll talk about 3-year-olds. When stuttering first starts, it can be a very frightening thing for parents. They don't know what to do. And unfortunately, when they go to look online to get advice, they find a lot of information and a lot of very often conflicting information. Oh, yes, just do this. Oh, yes, just do that. Seems everybody's got a program and everybody wants to tell the parents it's going to be fine. And indeed, we want to tell them that. We want to help to reduce the parents' fears. But it's not surprising that they are fearful. So one of the things I want to be aware of, and one of the things that I want to talk to you about when we talk about reducing parental panic, is helping parents have the opportunity to express those fears before we start overloading them with information. And that's especially true as we do more of our work through telepractice or through e-learning, as we do more phone calls rather than face-to-face screenings or meetings. The parents need to have the opportunity to express those fears. I'm going to give you an example from my own practice that is going on right now. Yesterday, I responded to just yesterday, 4 emails from parents of preschool children who stutter, ages 3, one was 2, 11, one's 3.5, and one's 4.5. And the parents' number one emotion that they're expressing is panic. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle the fact that they were going to have an evaluation, but then all of a sudden everybody's staying home, so they can't have the evaluation now, and they're fearing about what this added time means for their child. They've read online that we need to treat stuttering early so that we don't run out of time, but they've also read online that we've got plenty of time, but they don't want to do the wrong thing. So, one of the steps that I'll take with all 4 of these parents, even though I probably won't end up working with the children clinically because they're not near me, I'll connect them with people nearby, is I'll talk with the parents and give the parents the opportunity to express their fear. I don't want to just answer it with a handout. I don't want to just answer it with a form letter. I don't want to just post that they send them to a post they need to go to. I want them to talk through their fear. So I'm setting appointments to talk with parents to let them express their fears and then providing them with information. And one of the key bits of information that I want to share with them is you don't have to be extra afraid just because of what's going on right now. Yes, to be a parent is always to be afraid. I mean, it's a terrifying thing to do, okay? Always worried about the kids, always worried about what we might have done wrong. But in this case, we can let the parents know there is nothing that is going to happen in the next week or 2 weeks or a month or even 3 months that's going to make the difference between whether the child stutters for his lifetime or grows through the stuttering and experiences recovery. There is a lot that parents can do at home, even if they are not formally engaged in therapy. If they are able to be formally engaged in therapy during this time, terrific. But I don't want them feeling extra panic simply because of what the world is going through right now. We truly don't know what the future is going to bring. We don't know how quickly people will be getting back to work or getting back to regular face to face sessions. But even on the phone, even in Google Meets or Google Hangout, or even on a Zoom call, you can give the parents the opportunity to express their fears and feel some reassurance from you because that's one of the things they need the most.
I love what you were talking about just now because it's going to lean right into what I'm going to share. I'm going to talk to you all about listening and validating to parents and then educating and supporting them. And Scott was just discussing the idea of the not panic part of that. And that's a very important part because it's literally impossible to feel like you're in some sense of control, or at least understanding what's happening when you're in panic mode. And so helping parents to not panic, as Scott just described, and then listening to their story. One of the first jobs we have as clinicians is listening. And that's very different than our training, because sometimes, I don't know, I felt like I was trained to do a lot of talking. Maybe that's just because I like to talk, but I feel like the idea of listening needs to be reinforced over and over when we are talking with the parent of a child, a preschool child, an early elementary school child who is experiencing stuttering for the first time. And their stories matter. What they've been told before they came to us, what they've Googled, what their grandma said, and what their aunt and uncle said about it, what their pediatrician said. All of these things that they've heard before need to be told to us so that we can help them digest the oftentimes conflicting advice that they've gotten before they got to us. And so listening to their stories, job one. Validation comes from the idea that we don't want to be cheerleaders. We want to, as Scott so eloquently talks about, reassure so that the panic mode can pull down, but not cheerlead. Not like, this is going to be fine, you got this. That all is very devalidating. They have real concerns, they have real fears. And we want to be the people who will listen to those and then validate that those concerns are normal and natural for parents to have. And so through that listening and validation, we develop a rapport with our parents of our kiddos that is going to lift them through the next bit of time as they navigate this new disruption in their child's communication, which has a lot of ramifications for their family and for their own self esteem as parents. Because it's very hard to feel like you can't fix something as a parent. And we want to be the people that can help them through that. That leads us right into more education and support. One of the things I had to learn as a clinician and learn over and over is that, as David Luderman talks about, we're very good at education, right? We use education almost as a replacement for counseling and support sometimes. And we want to step back from that with these parents and with all parents of kiddos who stutter, because throwing a handout out there is fine. It's not a problem. We all need the handouts. We need something to have concrete, but understanding that it's not the first thing we do and it's not the only thing we do. So, as we listen and validate their concerns, we can start to help them understand the facts about early childhood stuttering. And as Scott was saying, so much on the internet, as I tell my parents and even my students, anyone can write a web page. It doesn't mean it's true. And so helping them become savvy consumers, love that term. Let's be savvy consumers of what we see on the internet or what we see in Pinterest or Facebook, because these parents are going to need that. If their child, whether or not their child continues to stutter, they need our support and guidance with factual information, so they're not riding that consistent roller coaster of the next best thing. And I heard about this one trick, which, by the way, is in our couple of those are in our chat room already. Questions about those, one quick idea that will stop your child from stuttering. We need to be cognizant of the fact that those parents are finding those things. And wouldn't it be, as a parent, something that you want? If somebody said there's this quick fix, there's this easy thing. So our job is to educate factual information and support them through their journey of learning more about stuttering. And that, I think, helps set them up for success as they go through this process.
Superb. Shall I take the one about developing a healthy communication environment then? Excellent. The fourth of our bullets that we want to talk about here when we're talking about parents of young children is how to help them create an environment in which the child's communication skills can thrive, in which the child's communication attitudes can become positive. The first step in this process is perhaps the hardest, and that is first helping us as speech language pathologists develop healthy attitudes towards stuttering. One of the things that we know about our field, unfortunately, is that the vast majority of speech language pathologists aren't comfortable with stuttering. When you ask clinicians which disorder areas they prefer to work with, stuttering often ranks last among all the disorders in our field as the least preferred area, just below voice disorders. Yeah, many times that's because people simply don't feel confident in their skills. And it may be difficult for us to talk to parents in an authoritative and calming way to be able to offer them that reassurance that they need, not promises of fluency, but the support that they need when we ourselves aren't feeling it. So, step one is helping us know that even in a young child who stutters, even if we're hoping for the child to recover, it's still okay for the child to go through that period of stuttering now. That's where the child is now. And although we're going to do our best to help, we don't have to feel bad about that. Once we've started to come to terms with stuttering, then we can help the parents come to terms with stuttering. And again, even though they want the child to stop, that doesn't mean they need to feel bad about the child or about themselves along the way. Helping them learn that they are okay as parents. They can help their child, and their child can be okay even when he's stuttering. Helps to reduce some of that panic that we were talking about. So, step one is to help us as clinicians come to terms with stuttering. Step two is to help the parents come to terms with stuttering. And then using that environment that we've created of acceptance and tolerance for the child's speech, no matter how fluent it is, then we can help the child begin to learn that what he says is valuable and it's worthy of being said, even if it comes out stuttered or bumpy or disrupted. Nina and I take a communication orientation to stuttering, even when we're talking about the very young ones, when, yes, we're hoping that it'll just be a phase and he'll develop fluent speech and all right, fine. But even then, even with the little ones, the message is they're okay and what they say is important. So, what that means is that we have to help parents learn to react in an appropriate way when the child is stuttering. And I have to tell you, our field has a tough, tough history in this because for a very long time in our field, we as clinicians taught people don't talk about stuttering, don't say things to the child about stuttering, make sure he doesn't become aware of stuttering. And as soon as we start telling people what they can't do, we have to replace it with something else about what they can do. And we never really did that in our field. How many times have you heard people say, oh, yeah, tell the parents not to say stop, slow down, take a deep breath, think about what you're saying, don't draw attention to it, don't talk about it, don't even say the S word. But then we never came along and said, here's what you can do to help instead, right? The parent's instinct is to help their child. When their child is undergoing stress, when their child is worried, as a parent, what we want to do is help our kids. That's why parents say those things. It's not that they're trying to harm the child or anything. They want to help. We can give them ways to help that are actually helpful then. For example, by treating stuttering in the child's speech just like any other difficulty that the child may have in learning a complex skill, like writing a tricycle, like writing letters and numbers, like coloring and shading and staying inside the lines, like drinking out of a big cup, like all of the changes that are going on in a young child's life, the parents provide support for the child. Yet we said as a field, no, 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 don't talk about stuttering. That'll make it worse, even though that's not true. We can talk about stuttering, and we can explicitly talk about stuttering in a way that helps parents help their children feel less fear. Letting them know that, oh, yes, sometimes when kids are learning to talk, they may have a little trouble getting their words out. That's okay. That's just part of learning. But what you said was interesting to me. Thank you for sharing that with me. Or, I know that was a little hard for you to say right now, but I really was pleased that you kept at it and you said it, even though you got stuck or even though you stuttered. It's okay to have that happen because we are having a great conversation. You have such amazing ideas. And what that does is it builds up the child's self esteem, it builds up the child's own positive attitudes. And that's what helps to prevent the the development of the fear and the shame and all of the problems that go along with stuttering for older kids and adolescents and adults. That good work on building self-esteem starts in the preschool years, starts right away when the child is stuttering, and even starts if we're hoping or thinking that the child will recover. He might as well feel good about himself along the way. Parents might as well feel good about themselves along the way. And clinicians, we might as well feel good about ourselves along the way.
We're going to be closing out this part of our talk for today. I want to share some resources, but to summarize what we've been talking about today, I think it's really important to understand that as we help parents of early childhood kiddos who are starting to stutter or showing signs of stuttering, as we help them learn to not panic so that we can share their story with them and listen and validate their concerns. That leads us into the ability for them to hear the new information or the good information because they've been allowed to feel comfortable with our relationship. And then they can hear the good information, they feel supported, so that they can then support their child with healthy communication attitudes that lead to a healthy communication environment. And none of that can ever be bad for a young child who's in the throes of starting to stutter. And so everything that we just flowed through culminates into a family that's learning how to handle a challenge that has popped up in their world. And that is our role. And I find it amazing that we as clinicians can have that opportunity with parents of young kiddos. And I don't want us to feel like we're not ready or not able to be a part of that process for them. Resources. We're going to share some resources for you because, of course, this is what we're very passionate about. So it's not like we haven't written about it or blogged about it 100 times or done things on our website. Scott's pulling up the website right now and the YouTube channel. Um, at the beginning of all of this, it put us in a space of really wanting to get as much information out there as fast as possible. Well, then let's talk. Let's put it on video and let's put it on the YouTube channel because that's where people can access very quickly. So you'll see an entire playlist of timely information for parents and SLPs. We also have always had information for SLPs to help parents, but there are tons of resources there for you. I also want to let you know, of course, we have our booklets for parents of both age groups, both early childhood and school age, our newest booklet. So those are available on our website for you to give to parents that they can hold on to and read through. We don't want you to forget that sometimes parents really just want to have things that they might want to pass along to, I don't know, grandma, Aunt Betty, caregivers that are with the child's communication environment a lot. It really does help to have that to pass along. So we have plenty of information out there to help our colleagues help the parents of young children who stutter.
So Nina, while you've been showing them that, I've been
Mhm.
showing a few screens here from the website. All of our videos are posted here on the website along
Yes.
with handouts. The material that I was just talking about right now about developing healthy attitudes in young children who stutter, this comes directly from our early childhood stuttering therapy book. But here's a free two-page handout from that on our website, along with quite a few other handouts, and then of course all of the videos.
Thanks for joining us.